What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Realms of Metal. Eddie here, back with you from you know where. The happiest place on earth, my metal room here in the woods in PA. What's going on, man? It is Sunday. We're chilling here. We're listening to records. Here's a video I had in the pipeline for a couple weeks now. I just haven't had the chance to get it done. And it's 10 metal records that changed my life. Now, I was going back and forth with an old friend when we were in high school, talking about, buying records, cassettes mainly, when we were that young, bringing them home and listening to them to the first time and how cool it was, how they made us feel, you know, eh. And that's the great thing about this music, right? I mean, you remember where you were when you heard these records for the first time, who you were with, how old you were, what grade you were in, how they made you feel, where you were. Like it takes you back. It's very nostalgic. And these are the records that end up shaping you moving forward. The stuff that you hear early on that means a lot to you. Those are the records that tend to shape you moving forward. So no matter what genres you like, no matter what bands you like, it doesn't really matter. It's all what matters is the way this music makes us feel. That's why we're fans. Not to steal a line from Creator, but we're all of the same blood here. And this music it's our lifeline. It's what keeps us going. And I've always been kind of a loner. I mean, I had good friends in high school growing up and stuff, but you know, I I always considered myself a loner. I always considered myself the outcast among outcasts. And mainly because I like my alone time. I like to be alone. I like to just hang out and especially when I was in high school and even middle school. This was my best friend. It was always in the inside pocket of my jacket with my headphones popping out, and this music is always there for us. It's there, through the good times, through the bad times. It's like an old friend. You can always rely on it. You could always count on it. And, you know, I think we all have that in common about this music. But these records right here that I'm going to talk about are 10 metal records that changed my life. Now, I know everybody's going to be different. It's going to be the beauty of a video like this is everybody's records are going to be different. I was born in 75. A guy who was born in 65 is going to have different records. A guy who was born in 85 is going to have different records, 95 different records. And of course, it all depends on when you got into metal. So that's the great thing about this music. It means different things to different people, but we're all kind of the same. So let's get at it, man. I got 10 here. Like I said, I could have done 50 of these, but I wanted to keep the video sort of short, and we can do another one of these. I had a bunch of records picked out, but I ended up picking these 10 to start out because I really think that they probably meant the most to me out of all the ones that I had picked out. And I'm going to start with the one that made me a metalhead in 1988. Now, I was kind of a casual metal fan growing up. Like I heard AC/DC, I heard Iron Maiden, I heard, I had Ozzy cassettes, but nothing that would really make me a metalhead. Like nothing really clicked and said, okay, metal is your thing. This is what you love. Until I heard this record. Metallica said Justice for All. A neighbor down the street had it on cassette, and I used to hang out with them. And I remember like going over there and like we were at their kitchen table and he's like, "Hey, did you ever hear this?" I'm like, "No, man, I heard of Metallica, but I don't, just came out, blah blah." So he puts it on and I have the fold there from the cassette and blackened, that little intro to blackened and dun, 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 dun. I'm like, whoa, this is great. Like this is so, and I read along with the whole thing, let the whole album play, read along with the whole thing. I'm like, wow, like this is mind blowing. Like I didn't know that metal could be that serious, and like looking at the lyrics of the record and the record definitely had a message. I mean, it's called Injustice for All, but really, if you read the lyrics, it's about the injustices of, maybe America or maybe the world. And that really resonated with me. I'm like, wow, this is like nothing I've ever heard before. And I absolutely love it. I mean, It's a very dark record. I mean, I know this is the record that blew Metallica up with the one video, but I mean, this is an underground record. It's not poppy at all. Like it's dark, it's brooding. Um, I know you can't hear the bass in it, but I didn't care back then. I loved the production of this record. It sucks you in, and like I wouldn't change anything about it, honestly. The production, the songwriting, the lyrics. It's almost progressive in spots. For Metallica up to that point. And granted, it was my first Metallica record, but when I bought this, of course, I went back and bought the back catalog too. But this is the record that made me a metalhead. So once I heard this, it changed me forever. And I was a serious metalhead after that, and I was like ravenous. And I just wanted to experience more of this if I could get my hands on it. And so this is my number one right here. It's still my favorite record of all time. Metallica are who they are now, but you can't take away what they did in the beginning. And everybody knows I'm a huge Mustaine fan too, and Mustaine had nothing to do with this record. No writing credits, didn't use any of his parts on this record. This was all the Metallica guys, and it means so much to me that I got the Hammer of Justice tattooed on me up here. So again, this is my number one, still my favorite record, and Justice for All, life changer for sure. That was the life changer for me. So let's go to 1986. Now, I became a metalhead in '88. I bought and Justice for All led me to So Far So Good So What from Megadeth, right? So when I heard that, I was like sucked into that record. Then I went and bought Peace Sells and Killing Is My Business. And when I heard Peace Sells, but who's buying? Now I had heard the song Peace Sells before. I think everybody did. And I liked it. It was good. But when I grabbed this, like there was something special about this record too. Like I really think this is one of the greatest thrash records of all time. Uh, the way it made me feel, the opening to Wake Up Dead, like man, The Conjuring is on here. Of course, Peace Sells, Devil's Island, always one of my favorite Megadeth tracks. Good Morning, Black Friday, Bad Omen is so underrated. My Last Words is so good. Like it just this record made me feel a certain way, and it still does every time I put it on. I got a big ass banner there that of Peace Cells, up in my metal room here, and that'll never come down. That's how much I love this record. So let me know what you guys think about Peace Cells. Of course, the last record to feature Chris Pohl and Gar Samuelson. Gar Samuelson has passed away. Rest in peace. But I mean, fucking utter brilliance here. Peace Cells with Who's Buying. Let's go to 1990, June of 1990, in fact. And it's the first Deicide record. This was really our first death metal record as kids. So, 1990, I was 15. So, I remember me and a friend buying the cassette, bringing it back to my house, putting it on, and we had never heard anything that satanic before. You know, I think we heard the first Possessed record. That's pretty evil, but this just took it up to another level when it came to the satanic lyrics and imagery and like we put it on. We're like, whoa! Like our jaws dropped. We had never heard anything that heavy and evil before, and we were just. I was actually like turning the stereo down because I didn't want my mom to hear it. Like, jeez, man. Lunatic of God's creation, sacrificial suicide. Oblivious to Evil is like the riff that sucked me into this record. Dun, 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 dun. I mean, Dead by Dawn, Bass for Irion, the self-titled Deicide track, still one of the best Deicide tracks ever. Uh, Carnage in the Temple of Damn, Mephistopheles, Day of Darkness, Crucifixation. So this was our kind of doorway to death metal. And what better record to start with than this one? I mean, it's still one of my favorite records of this day. And again, a life changer for me. So let me know what you think of the first Deicide record. All right. Here's another first to me. This is my first Iron Maiden record, and that's Seventh Son of the Seventh Son. Came out in April '88. It was their seventh full length, I think, for Maiden. Um, they did videos for like Can I Play with Madness, The Evil That Men Do, The Clairvoyant. I remember being in my local record store. It was like an electronic store, really, and that's where I got a lot of my first stuff. And I was looking at cassettes, and I saw this, and I had heard Maiden before. I had a cousin who was into metal, and that's what got me into metal a little bit is hanging out at my cousin's house in New Jersey. And I had heard Maiden, I heard Number of the Beast, I heard Aces High, Run to the Hills, I heard Maiden songs here or there, but I never really picked up a Maiden record until I saw this in the store, and I'm like, man, I'm gonna get that, just based on the album cover. And I heard Maiden, I know what they sounded like, but then when I got home and I put this on, like this is just it was a very mature record for Maiden up to that point too, I think. I mean, the production on it, who produced this? Martin Birch did it. He did an amazing job. Um, the opening track, Moonchild, man. Infinite Dreams, kind of slower, ballady one, really good. I mean, Can I Play with Madness? Everybody knew that track. It was a great track. Evil That Men Do, I think, is still one of Maiden's best tracks ever. Seventh Son of a Seventh Son, The Prophecy, The Clairvoyant, Only the Good Die Young, Only Evil Seem to Live Forever. Again, life changer for me. When I bought this, I went back and bought the back catalog of Maiden, and I still hold this album in such high regard. Still my favorite, one of my favorite Maiden records. I'll say that. So, Seventh Son of a Seventh Son. Let's go to September 1990. I remember when this record first came out. Again, this was a band that I was very familiar with. One of my uncles was a big Judas Priest fan. He loved, arena rock, arena metal, that kind of stuff. AC/DC, Priest, Black Sabbath, Van Halen. And I remember when this first came out, picking it up and blown away by how heavy it was. I mean, wow. I mean, this is, to me, the heaviest Priest record they ever put out. And I wish they had stayed on this path. Like I really do. I mean, Halford was out after this, and geez, Painkiller. Everybody remembers the video for Painkiller. Hell Patrol is one of the best Priest tracks ever. Hell Patrol is so underrated. I love that track. All Guns Blazing, Leather Rebel, Metal Meltdown, Nightcrawler, really good. Between the Hammer and the Anvil, Touch of Evil, another really good one. Battle Hymn, One Shot at Glory, really underrated Judas Priest track. So, I mean, I had heard, like, I think I even had Turbo as a kid, but like hearing this, this just dialed it up. This was like one of the metal records for me, like straight up heavy metal. This is one of the go-tos for me. So, Painkiller, legendary, man. Let me know what you think of Painkiller and what it meant to you. March 1990, Forbidden's Twisted into Form. Again, another record that when I put it on, I get goosebumps. Uh, the production of this record, the songwriting, Russ Anderson's vocals, the songs, the way it made me feel like this is a very maturely written thrash record, and it almost follows the same suit as kind of like Injustice of Raw, it's like a very maturely written thrash record and produced really well, and it just flows. I love everything about it. I love The album cover, I got the fucking tattoo. Uh, Parting of the Ways is the opening instrumental of that. Beautiful, man. Infinite, amazing. Out of Body, Out of Mind. Step by Step, they did the video for. Twisted into Form, title track. R.I.P. Spell Depression. Tossed Away. One Foot in Hell. Who's answering the bell? That's so good. Another one that was a life changer for me, molded me. I like this a little bit more than Forbidden Evil. Don't get me wrong, Forbidden Evil is great too, but this Twisted in Form was the one for me. Special record, changed my life for sure. And there it is. Let me know what you think of Twisted in Form or Forbidden in general. Let's go to 1989. This record, so being a thrash fan and being into like the Bay Area stuff and like the East Coast stuff, like Exodus and, Slayer and Megadeth and Metallica, East Coast stuff like, Overkill and Whiplash and MOD and all that stuff. Uh, this was like, whoa, when I first heard it. Like, I remember, I think I was working at like ShopRite or something as a cart getter or a bagger. And one of the other dudes was a metalhead and he came over. He says, "Hey, did you pick this up yet?" I'm like, "No, man, I don't even know who that is." He's like, "Yeah, man, it's over at the store. They got a couple copies left. You want to go over and grab one?" He goes, "You want to hear it?" I'm like, "I'll take your word for it, but yeah, let me hear it." Put it in my Walkman. It's like, oh man, this was like thrash to another level. Like it was nothing I had heard before. It like took the Bay Area and East Coast stuff and it like kicked it up a notch in heaviness. You got more gruffer vocals on this. The music was faster. It was heavier. I was like, what? This, absolute life changer for me. So after my shift, I went over, I bought the cassette, brought it home, and just got lost in this record. Like, Beneath the Remains is was a life changer for me. It changed the way I thought about thrash metal, because I was accustomed to the Bay Area stuff and the East Coast stuff, like I said. And it opened up a lot of doors for me. And really like to get into death metal too. Like I heard this before, obviously that first Deicide record, and it broadened my horizons a little bit. It made me like the heavier stuff a little bit more, and it was kind of like a stepping stone in that way. But my gosh, Beneath the Remains, Inner Self, Stronger Than Hate, Mass Hypnosis, Sarcastic Existence, Slaves of Pain, Lobotomy, Hungry, Primitive Future. Man, this record's a 10 out of 10. It's so fucking good. Again, it has a feeling. All these records that I'm talking about here have a feeling, at least for me, and I love records that have a feel to them. And yeah, life changer for me. Let me know what you think of Beneath the Remains. It's funny that we're going to talk about this record next because this was supposed to be the cover of this. This was supposed to be the Beneath the Remains cover. Something happened with the label. They ended up giving this to Obituary, this cover, and that one to Sepultura. So there was a lot of hoopla about that back in the day. You can Google that and read it. And the Sepultura guys were not happy about that. And it's been well documented. But Obituary, cause of death, September 1990. To me, when I heard this for the first time, this was the death metal record, even more than the first Deicide record. Like this kind of like encompassed what death metal was for me. Like if you were to look the definition of death metal up in the fucking dictionary, it'd have a picture of this record in here. Like the way it sounds, the songs, the lyrical content, the feel of this record, it felt like death metal to me. Uh, in a graveyard, that was death metal to me. This is a genre defining record. Every song is good. Um, This was actually a bucket list vinyl for me. I just got it. I just got it a couple days ago. It was on my bucket list. I was looking for it at a decent price. I found one, and this is actually the red version. Damn, like jeez. Infected, body bag, chopped it off. Circle of the Tyrants, the cover. Man, dying. Dying is so good, man. Find the arise, cause of death, memories remain, turn inside out. Like, oh my gosh. Like, again, a record that defines the genre of death metal, at least for me. Um, just 10 out of 10 for me. It's like the way it made me feel when I put it on, just screamed death metal. Like, this was the death metal record for me, and I still love it to this day. It's still one of my favorites. So, obituary, cause of death, let me know what you guys think of this one. All right. Let's go to July 1988. Overkill's Under the Influence. This was their third full length video for Hello from the Gutter. Everybody knows. Produced Alex Perialis, who did all the old thrash stuff back in the day, all the good thrash stuff. Special record for me. My first Overkill record. Again, a record that made me feel a certain way. Like there's a rawness and an aggression to this Overkill record that I really love. It just resonates with me. Like this was another genre defining record for thrash metal, in my opinion. Um, the cover is amazingly beautiful. That beautiful green logo, just everything about it. I mean, look at that. Shred. Never say never. Hello from the gutter. Mad Gone World. Brain Fade. Drunken Wisdom. End of the line. Head first. Overkill 3. Still my favorite Overkill record to this day. Again, another record that, makes me feel a certain way. Uh, Hard to describe, but it just gets me in that thrash kind of mindset. Whenever I see the cover of this record or put it on, it just takes me back to that. And I can't say enough good things about it. I love it, man. Overkill, Under the Influence. Life changer for me. And last but not least, this will be the last one. I could not in I could not include an Exodus record, and I'm Fabulous Disaster. I'm going with that one. It was my first Exodus record as a kid. It came out in January '89. It was their third full length. Um, Again, another record that absolutely floored me, and I really took a liking to Exodus. Like when it came to all the thrash bands and how I felt about them, I felt like Exodus and Overkill, and probably Megadeth too, spoke to me the most. And Exodus actually wound up being my favorite band, and Exodus has been my favorite band just about forever now. And again, another record that sucks you in, takes you to another place. Last Act of Defiance, really good. Fabulous Disaster, I still think is one of the best Exodus tracks they ever wrote. I mean, that's such a good track. Toxic Waltz, obviously, I think is a genre defining track, pretty much because it was because about, getting in the mosh pit and, that was kind of like Exodus's signature track back then. They did the video for it. Um, Lowrider, the cover, Cage in Hell, severely underrated. Like Father, Like Son, so fucking good. Corruption, really good. Verbal Razors is one of the most underrated Exodus tracks ever. I love the lyrics in Verbal Razors. That track is a 10 out of 10 for me. Uh Man, the H team, Gary Holt, Rick Hunolt, Tom Hunting. Man, does it get much better than this? Fuck. No. Fabulous Disaster. Let me know what you think of this one. There you have it. 10 records that changed my life, 10 records that are still my favorite records to this day. Like I said, there are more, but for the purposes of keeping these videos short, we can do another one of these, or I could probably do three more of them, to be honest with you. But let me know, what records changed your life when you first heard them. When were you born? Uh, what records made you a metalhead? What records got you into metal? How did they change your life? How did they shape you going forward? Um, Let me know. And I thank all these bands, man. I really do. Whenever I meet a musician or a band, and it's a band or a musician that their music has meant a lot to me, I always take the time to say, "Hey, man, thank you for what you do." Because let's face it, without this music, life would be boring as fuck for all of us. You know it, and I know it. So I always take the time, a minute, to say, "Hey, thank you for what you do. I appreciate it. Continue to do what you're doing." And most of the musicians that I say that to really appreciate it. And hopefully they may not think that a lot. They may not think about how their music they put out affects the fans' lives. But hopefully, when I ask them that question, it kind of opens up that door and says, "Hey, man, this is awesome that we're doing it for for these fans. This is why we do it." So that's gonna wrap it up here for Realms of Metal for today on a Sunday. I appreciate you guys hanging with me, and again, life changing records. Put them down below. Let me know what records changed your life, and we'll see you guys again real soon.